to stick under there that's high enough to reach over the side of your tipper. Anyway, let's go get the harvester, because we're kind of done with that too. And we can... There we go. Fold that up. So I guess we're kind of done with the harvester, and if I'd known that, maybe we should have rented one, but yeah, it is what it is. Probably need to do rock picking. Because like I said, we can plant the fields, not a problem. We're going to be leasing the equipment to plant the fields. But then when we come around to harvest it, or we're going to drive over them and fertilize them, we're going to damage our equipment if we do that. So probably a wise plan to pick up the rocks. Which way round? That way round, I think. Alright. Step back and it's going to jump into place and lock. So yay. And rather tight manoeuvring there, but we made it. So I think in Farm Sim 19 someone did create a mod. It's basically an alarm clock that tells you when the prices get good on something. We could have, we could do with that. I mean, big mistake on Oakfield Farm is I forgot to sell 300,000 litres of triticale when it was at its best price. So it's sort of, I wish I'd remembered, because we would be a good 300,000 money more than we have at the moment on that farm. I'm okay with that at the moment. Is that good? Oh, we could go back a bit further. Let's do it there. I'll park the harvester right next to it because it looks like there's enough room in that bay. So that's left enough room in this area to have another shed if we want it. And we're probably going to want another shed. Turn the engine off. Stick it in. Well, yeah, that's the annoying thing. You can't stick it in drive when you turn the engine off. That's awkward. So, not going to do anything with the wheat. Not going to do anything with that. We could put greenhouses here. I'm going to need a water tanker if we do go into greenhouses. Not a big rush, though. I mean, maybe we just don't worry about that for right now. How heavy is a rock picker? Rock pickers. Rock picking. Picking rocks. Rollers. Seeders, planters, pickers. 52,550, 2,000 litres. 200, okay, 200 horsepower, 120 horsepower, 100 horsepower. Our little Landini can't pull any of those, so I'm not even gonna try. Now I could get, let's see what's, remind myself on the land, what are we doing here? Land needs lime. I'm going to turn the need lime off. That field there, we just need to rip things up. I could get a small cultivator. I'm not in a hurry. Don't rush it. It's kind of weird, but see, one of the things I'm thinking, I could get a small harrow and rip up that field now. And if I get a small harrow, I can put it on the back of the Landini and it should work fine. But we've leased the the subsoiler, and we could just plough all of these fields. Then we're going to want a rock picker. We're going to have to run that on the back of the class. Then what are we going to need after that? Then I think we're good for a while. Okay, so I'm standing here. Landini's over there. Yeah, Landini is not very usable. I could buy more equipment. The worry is... big worry is... this thing's 306 and the leasing cost is 15,000. Now the issue is I need to make more than 15,000 when we harvest the olives. What does that look like for us? Best selling time is June, obviously. Harvest time for olives is probably July. Oh, October. So we have to wait a full year. That's the best time to sell olives. However, we're not doing that. We are doing that. And the best time to sell that is June. But that's 4,000. Olives. Hello, olives. That's 4,000 per 1,000 litres. That's 1,000 per 1,000 litres. So obviously, olives gonna make us more in our olive factory, in our oil factory. Significantly more in our oil factory. So that's why I went that way. The other thing we can plant is sunflowers, because that also converts into oil. Not letting me do the R thing. Oh yes, it is. So olive oil, 100 makes 50. This 200 makes 100, and that's a cycle. Two cycles per. This is 200 to 100, 2 cycles per hour. So olive oil, you use up fewer olives, you make less oil per. So you only make 100 oil per hour. But still, it's well worth it. What I didn't also check was obviously canola, 1,300, meh. Canola oil, 2,500, almost double the price, over double. That's 2,800, and sunflowers are 1,500. So the problem is you're getting 1,500 for sunflowers. If you've got 10,000 litres, you'll make 5,000 litres of sunflower oil, and the sunflower oil is 2,800. So currently it's better to sell the sunflowers because that's more than double. If you're looking at this one and this one, oh, there is an oil mill. Excuse me. Map. There is an oil mill. Oh, there is an oil mill. Right there, we own it. Okay. Yeah, of course we do. Okay. Oh, now the other thing you can do, I believe you can change the names of these. Maybe not. I thought there was a way to name some buildings. So for example, oh, that might be in my list of stuff. No. I don't know. P. Belt systems. It doesn't list buildings. Oh, that's all the mods and DLCs we've got. So we've got the Roland pack. This thing, and this thing are all new drops today. There's also a sleep trigger. Not sure where that appears. Very careful. So I can call that that and change it, and then go back. And now if we go to the sell point, wrong thing. We look where we can sell olives. We can now sell olives at Osei's cooking oils. Kind of cool. So yay, we found out how to name things. Oh, and that's tagged. Let's turn the tag off, please. There we go. No bat signal over our farm. And I think you can do with the same with the silos. So you could call this silo 1, you could have another one somewhere else on the map. Silo 2. Sunflower, all of the oil ratios are 2 to 1. So sunflowers, 2 sunflowers to every 1 oil. Canola's 2 to 1, and olives are 2 to 1. Olive production is half the rate of sunflowers and the other thing, whatever the other thing is. So sunflowers you convert 200 to 100 in an hour. Canola you convert 200 to 100, but olives you only convert 100 to 50 in that same time. So, but we're not too worried. The production facility can now run, and we can delay selling out from the production until it's at its best price. So, and since it's not at its best price now, you know, it's going to take us 6 months before we get to best price for olives or olive oil or canola oil. So why not convert it into canola oil now? Because, you know, it's kind of like the argument of, hey, why don't I just plant oilseed radish on one of my fields? And you know what? I might do that. If we go back to our calendar, we can't do anything about olives until March. So oilseed radish, we can plant that now, and we can harvest it any time. So if I plant oilseed radish in the field I'm planning to put the olives in, scroll it in just before we get around to planting the olives, we'll get a free level of fertilization on that. Same with our canola, we can plant the canola now. What else do we have? If I wanted to plant sunflowers, well, maybe we plant oilseed radish in a field until it's time to plant sunflowers, and then scroll it into the ground and get a level of fertilization on the field. What field is that? That's not mine. No, that's not mine. What is that stuff? Excuse me. This is sorghum. Yes. And I'm running wheel weights and a weight on the front of this, just so that it gets the best traction. We did find out in Farm Sim 19 that running with weights and on the front and the back can improve the traction when you're dredging the ground with a plough or something like that, especially if you're very close to the horsepower limits of the equipment versus tractor. So it just makes sense to do that. Obviously wide tyres also helps with traction. We're not having any traction problems here. We're running a 205 horsepower tractor on a 130 horsepower requirement piece of equipment. So I'm kind of good with where this is sitting. But we do need to finish all of our ploughing before nightfall. Because otherwise we'll have another $535 leasing fee for tomorrow. Are we really worried? Yeah. Let's check on equipment, because equipment does list our rented equipment. So this is our leased equipment, $325. It's been running for an hour now. There's no extra fee here. Now it might need to go a little bit longer. It's at 94% because we've been ripping up the ground. Dominator's at 95, headers at 94. Class carrot 140. That's the, what is that? That's the tipper. So that's doing what it does. That's our farm, looking quite impressive with the oil factory on site, I would say. Now the other option, well, there's another option. I could, and it's not an ideal, you know, this is me being impatient, but I could look at this and say, $3,000 to lease that, and back to there. Stone picker. That's got the bigger capacity. That's got the bigger working width. If I leased that, 8,000, no, 3,000, 3.5. 4, 5, 6. 6,000 to do that, and then what I could do is horsepower requirement 120. I could just grab those from the store and start picking up rocks while this thing continues to plough the ground. Or I can wait till tomorrow to get the stone picking done. And we'll check back here. As I said, it's always good to check this at least once a day, but this wasn't available when we started 3 hours ago. So that's suddenly, what now? Was it 4 o'clock? We started at 8, so it's 4.5 hours, and that muck spreader has happened in the time that we've taken to harvest 2 fields and plough 2 fields. So once this is finished, I'll go back to trying to work on that other field and get that done. Then maybe I'll, once I've got all of the fields these 3 fields ploughed, I could start the worker on the other ones. Actually, there are contracts. I forgot. Again, there are a lot of fertilizing contracts. They have some big equipment. But 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, about 20,000 in contracting. And the nice thing about fertilizing contracts is you can get them done very quickly. So maybe I would want to, consider buying a fertilizer sprayer and getting those done now. This is the tricksy bit, trying to figure out how far I got. Ah, this looks about right, people. Let's drop that and go. Oh, we are taking our time to cross this field. But like I said, the worker can't do anything about it. You know what? To heck with this. Let's, oops. I am going to set the worker loose on this field. Now, the problem here is we are going to kill the crops because we've got standard tyres, so we're not going to achieve full fertilisation from ploughing in the crop. Oh, except I'm using a worker. Workers don't destroy crops, so hey presto. That's one way to get a field ploughed in and achieve the stuff. The full fertilisation from it. So now what I'm going to do is go here. That's 58.5. That's 76. Okay, we're going to lease the Fiat, and we're going to go back. We're going to lease the rock picker. I'm going to lease the big one, because it's a lower horsepower requirement, although it does have less capacity, but it's kind of easier to use. Did I buy that or did I lease it? Oh. I leased them both. Good. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to drop the stones in the yard. We'll get a bucket for the class Arian and shovel them into our tipper. Yes, and that's... It may be possible to put the subsoiler on that, or you run narrow tyres, but the problem with narrow tyres is you lose traction. Technically that's probably not a problem for our little Axion, because, or the little Arian, because it's 205 horsepower. So I'm thinking even on narrow tyres it should be able to haul a subsoiler that needs only 130 to get rolling. But, you know, I did see someone subsoiling a field and they put small, narrow tyres on their tractor, and it's sort of, well, yeah, that works. Why not do that? So we want to lower that, turn it on, get out of the trees. Again, it would be really nice if this thing changed the texture, because I just can't see where I'm driving, or where I've already driven. The only prompt is the rocks. Now obviously this is fine, because we ploughed the ground, we got big rocks out, and we really need to take care of those. I'm guessing they do the most damage to your equipment. Now, the only option here is to figure out where we've been by where my tyre tracks are, and go from that. So fortunately I have a long duration on tractor tyre tracks, and we follow the approximation of the sort of, there's subtle variations. It's sort of striped, and I'm guessing that's where the subsoiler crossed over on alternating rows. Anyway, we'll drive down here. I think there is a very subtle difference, but it is so subtle that you really have to pay attention. Potentially on a lower spec system with lower graphic settings, you might not be able to clearly discern where your rock picker has been and where it hasn't. It looks like the ground is a little bit darker, but barely perceptibly. Where you've run over it with the rocks, or you've run over it with the picker. How are we doing? 199. So hopefully I'm not going to fill this thing up completely. Now the next thing I'm thinking of doing, I'm just going to go ahead and rent a plough and plough the field that was already cultivated but is in a needs ploughed state. And we're doing this just to get as best a yield from all of these fields as we possibly can. Okay, so split the difference here. And we do have, I'm guessing, a fair bit of overlap on each side of this now. Because the rock picker's gathering area is pretty much level with the tractor's tyres on both sides. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Oh, we got them all. Just like the Pokemon. Gotta get them all. And of course we've got wage payments going out. We're paying more in wages than we are in renting our stuff. Actually, I might check on... It's not easy to check on the leasing costs. I wonder if the leasing costs on the vehicle page are cumulative. So this is what we've spent so far, but oops, if I'm going around this tree as well, but if we do get more leasing costs on, say, the subsoiler, is it going to appear as now it's, you know, $670 on rentals for it or not? Something to check. Some more sciencing for FarmSim22. When do you get leasing costs? Because they're completely, unlike FarmSim19, you could see there was an hourly cost, there was a daily cost, there was an initial rental fee. So it actually made sense to hold on to your leased equipment, just because that daily rental fee, or that initial rental fee can be quite prohibitive. So sometimes it's worth renting something and then holding it onto it for a couple of days than it is to rent it today, use it for an hour, give it back, rent it for another day in 2 days' time, because that daily rent, that initial cost is so much more than 3 days of rental or whatever it works out at. Straight up there. Ooh, not doing too bad. We've only got 595 on the rocks. I don't know where the rock crusher is here. Now that's not a production facility, so we're going to have to look that up somewhere. It looks like the neighbour across the road is moving out. Our guess is he's been staying at his dad's house because his dad's had some medical issues, and so he needs a little bit more care than he can provide on his own. But neighbour moved out a lot of furniture in his pickup over the last 2 days, and he's now collecting his toys. He had, I think, a Pontiac Firebird. He picked that up yesterday and took that away, and today he's taking his four-wheeler on a little flatbed trailer behind. Why are you blocked? What are you blocked by? Oh, you're probably blocked by the factory. Okay, that's my guess. You're not seeming to be blocked. Oh,